The biggest constraint for all of us today is time. We have less and less time and more to do in that time, in that ever shrinking time, right? So that then creates, automatically triggers that question, should we plan, should we not plan? Because by the time you plan, that exigency, that event, that trigger may have already arrived, so you can't even implement your plan. Possible, right? To what extent should we plan? Will we, once we plan, given that the world around us is changing dynamically, which is called death by PowerPoint, okay? We have about 500 slides. We take a 5-hour slot, and so this is inside story, right? Not to be repeated outside, okay? So I'm talking to you from as in, been there, done that. You just bombard the audience with 500 slides so that at the end of it, they're just unable to argue with you anymore, right? We're not going to do that. Let's talk about Volkswagen. Everybody knows about Volkswagen. Everybody knows that from an India standpoint, they made their entree with brands such as Polo, right? But Volkswagen is also the company that has the premium brand as well, like an Audi, like a Porsche, like a Lamborghini, that's actually owned by Volkswagen, right? But if we go back in time, maybe to the 1930s, we all know Volkswagen is a German company, right? Go back to the early 1930s, Volkswagen and the commercial production of Volkswagen, from a marketing standpoint, okay, was marketed as a car that almost every family can own, okay? Map it to a marketing campaign by a company in India which said every family should have it. Less than 1 lakh rupees. Strikes a bell? Right? Germany had the same thing back in the early 1930s. And they had Reichmarks, okay, before Deutschmarks and the euro, they had Reichmarks. Less than 1,000 marks, which for an average per capita family, right, that was the annual income. So anything that the family owns, if you can save up a little bit, less than 1 year, you'll be able to afford a basic model, very, very standard basic model of what we now know to be the iconic Beetle, okay? Now, the person who launched this campaign is not a marketing guru, but he is very well known. Any guesses who that person was? Yes. It was Adolf Hitler. It was Adolf Hitler, absolutely, okay? All of us would have at some point of time seen a Volkswagen ad. It says, it ends as Das Auto, yeah, right? So that one single little punchline, 2 words, right? Das is the, in German, Auto is car. So what does it say? The car, right? But if you look at it from a marketing planning standpoint, it has a big, big, big relevance. Why? What is it that they're trying to say? It's like the car, full stop, done, khatam baat. You're thinking about a car, you're thinking about durability, you're thinking about how robust it is, you're thinking about the best of German engineering, which is the best in the world. Think no further. Das Auto. Yeah? Make sense? Okay. So that is their core value. That is their core value. And that maps to their internal environment and their culture. So Volkswagen traditionally, right from those days, has always been very proud of the fact that their engineering is the best in the world. And the plan of the marketing that they have done is similar across countries. That is the other part which is very interesting. One of the main things that is relevant for us today is we are globalized. We are a globalized economy. So it is completely seamless across the whole world. So if I'm importing something that is competing. If I'm importing a car, if I'm importing a machine, if I'm importing a TV set, whatever it might be, that is competing with other imports in the same category, and it is competing with the top brand of the products which are already there in the market. If that is the case, how do I market it? Okay. If we have a product which involves logistics, which involves transportation, and we've just had the GST, if I'm not mistaken, that's passed in the Rajya Sabha, right, which has been pending for almost a year now. That changes the entire equation from a supply chain standpoint, from a taxation standpoint, from a supplier standpoint, and that in turn is going to affect the cost, which in turn has to affect my marketing. So if I take GST into account, right, and I have, maybe not the right example, but steel going from Bihar and Jharkhand to the northeast, how am I going to do that? Because the supply side is now affected. The costs of transport are affected. The taxation around that, together with not laying additional tax incidence on the final beneficiary in the northeast, in Mizoram or Assam, right, is affected. Therefore, my marketing strategy has to calibrate. When the strategy calibrates, strategy drives the plan. So my plan has to be changed, has to be calibrated or customized accordingly. Even a marketing plan, right, it's important to realize is actually a decision. A planning per se is a decision. We always think, or we tend to think, a strategy is a spacey philosophical thing. I'm up in the clouds, 37,000 feet. I'm just looking at something and I'm saying, nice, this works, right? A plan is something that goes from the strategy and tries to come down to earth. And then I finally operationalize it or execute the plan. And that is when I'm hands-on. That is when I'm deciding. Not true. Not true. A marketing plan is a decision. You are deciding to market your product in such and such manner, to such and such customer base, over such and such time frame, and you will be incurring such and such costs. So it is a heavy burden for marketing professionals to bear if you view about it, right? Because the age-old thing is, marketing will say, my plan was perfect, execution was faulty. The sales guy will say, execution was fine, this is the best that could be done under the circumstances. Marketing, to please their bosses, gave us inflated figures which were unachievable. Age-old fight. Yeah? So look at it from another standpoint. As planners, as people who give that direction, that vision, let's be grounded. Let's be grounded in reality. Fine. I mean, I can try and go on doing this till I've sold this idea to you. But the problem is, if you're oversold on this idea, you get bogged down with the details. From a planner, you become an analytics guy. Nobody's told you this. But subconsciously what has happened is you've become a guy who lives and breathes big data, terabytes of data. You've become an analytics guy. You've become an interpreter of data, as opposed to someone who just culls the basic things from data and says, okay, does this map to the current situation? Is this resonating with my stakeholders and customer base, existing and potential? Is this being mapped to what I know about ground reality? If so, sounds viable. Let's go forward. You take a step forward, at least that. One of the challenge for planners when you get into too much data is planning paralysis. Just like, sometimes bureaucrats and politicians are accused of policy paralysis, right? Or implementation paralysis. You have a planning paralysis. So that's the other one. Change of focus because of an external thing, right? I'll go back to the Brexit example. That could be a change of focus, a driver for change of focus. Devaluation of currency could be a change of focus. Your sector is not doing well, change of focus. You are waiting for more favorable, transparent modes, and then you're going to give a push to real estate. That backwardly linked has to do with construction, which in turn has to do with material and costs thereof, etc. Right? So all of these things may make you change your focus. But the problem with that is it affects your plan, because your plan takes a few steps and then doesn't know where to go. It's the same thing with ambiguity, because you don't really know the way the market's going to move, and then you want to play it safe, so you want to wait and watch, and you're sure where the market is going. You already missed the bus.